Hi everyone, welcome back to Farmhouse Taj Mahal. I know, funny name for a house. There's a backstory. We bought the house, gutted it, renovated it, updated electrical, plumbing, everything. When we got to the drywall part of it, my twin sister and I, after having done 6 months of demo on all of the lath and plaster, got to finally start doing drywall. My husband, bless his heart, helped me take on this project. This was all me. He taught us how to do drywall. We had never done it before. So as we're going through the week, we would tape mud, sand, let it dry, sand. And I don't know how many times when he would come to check our work, we would say, "Is this okay?" And he would say, "It's fine. It's not the Taj Mahal." Well, after about, I don't know, 400 or 500 times of him saying that, I decided this was the Taj Mahal, but it was just the farmhouse version. So yes, I know the Taj Mahal is a crypt for an Indian emperor's dead wife, but it's a beautiful place, and I consider my home a beautiful place. So I'm okay with it. And it aggravates the crap out of him when I say that. So anyway, today I am going to try to start a project that I have been avoiding for like 3 years. I salvaged a bunch of stuff when we demoed the house to try to figure out ways to bring the character of this house was built in 1880 back in. And so one of the things I did was I saved all of the shelves out of the closets, because there was a bedroom that we took out, made it into a laundry room, and we split it so it's a laundry room on half of what was the bedroom and a second bathroom on the other, which was the best thing we ever did. Yeah, we lost a bedroom. It's only a 2-bedroom now instead of a 3, but it's fine. So anyway, I saved those shelves. And I came up with the idea that I wanted to make my countertops out of them and do the epoxy resin on them. So I don't know why I'm intimidated right now to get started on them, because let me show you, I have actually done this project on 2 other builds that were not the main countertops in the kitchen. So let me show you. So we'll start with, this was my first one. This was a cabinet. This is an upper cabinet. A friend of mine gave me all of the cabinets that I put in my house. Those are solid wood. He was redoing his kitchen, gave me all of the cabinets. So you know, that was awesome. But anyway, so I couldn't figure out what to do with this one cabinet that I didn't have anywhere for. But I wanted an island, but this kitchen is not big enough for an island. So I took the cabinet and I put it on a base. I put it on wheels, but now I think I'm just going to put it on stationary feet. And then this was my first epoxy attempt, and it turned out really good. So then I decided that I needed more storage over here, and I built this entire shelf. And these slats in here, I don't know if you can see it because of the light. Let me turn this off. These we salvaged from an old enclosed back porch, and I absolutely love how it turned out. So I don't know why I have put off doing these other countertops for so long, but I'm going to try to get them today. But while I'm here by my pantry, I'm going to show you what I did. Where the pantry's at used to be the back door. So let me show you. This used to be right there, that wall, that was the back door. But obviously it isn't anymore. That's now the pantry. And I built all of these shelves for this absolutely fabulous pantry that I just love, love, love. Although like any pantry, you quickly outgrow it, but you know, that just means I got to go through stuff. So, all right. So, already got this one out in the garage, getting ready to prep it to start that black splash. That's vinyl. That's that vinyl wallpaper, which us old people used to call contact paper. So I'm going to probably put a link for that and these awesome light strips that I put underneath here, because they are both my favorite. I got them from Amazon. And then I've got this one that'll be the next one to do. This one will be the bane of my existence. Don't ask me why, but oh, by the way, that spice rack, that's all salvage stuff from the house. Isn't that awesome? Anyway, I'm assuming that this may have been an addition, but I don't know if you can tell. This wall is at an angle. So it makes this very hard to try to figure out how I'm gonna cut and do this particular countertop, but it is going to get done. So I'm gonna pause this and go get set up out in the garage and get started on this. So, be back. Okay, hi. So we're back in the garage. This is one of the shelf boards. We did plane it. My husband did a long time ago. So this is the side I'm going to use. But they are a little long, so I'm going to, I've already got them marked where they need to be cut. So that's my first step, is cutting them to correct length. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I've got two of them clamped together. And sorry if the light's giving a glare. And I'm going to cut one end to make a nice straight edge, because I realize that these are probably not straight, because nothing in my house is straight. Any of us that have old houses, we know that. So I'm going to straighten up one end, and then I'm going to remeasure and make for sure that my line that I marked is still where it needs to be. Okay, so I told my husband if nothing else, out of this I would get a really good what not to do video. So I'm going to admit to what I just did. I couldn't figure out why, when I was cutting the end of the board to make it nice and straight, make for sure it was straight, why it wasn't coming out straight. In the process of cleaning my garage up yesterday, I apparently unlocked this lock on my saw, and apparently bumped it just enough where it was not on 0. So luckily I only cut the first board, realized that I had made that mistake, and fixed it. So now they're all perfectly even. So now I can proceed. And right before I did that, something I didn't show was that the trim pieces that I'll be putting around to cover up my raw edges, I went ahead and stained them. They're not going to match perfectly. I have no idea what kind of wood these shelves are, and the trim pieces I have are just ones that I had left over from other projects. So some of them are poplar, some of them are pine, so they're going to accept stain differently. I'm okay with that. My house has ebony baseboards, ebony cabinets, but then I've pulled in early American stain color in other places, like with bookshelves and a TV stand and a shoe rack that I made, because I like that difference, that contrast in the different stains. So be right back with the next step. Okay, so Next step is I've got my baseboard, and then I've got my boards that are going on top. That'll be my countertop. So what I'm going to do is a combination of two ways of fastening it. I have liquid nails, and then I've got screws. I already double checked the screws, made for sure that they are not going to come through the top because I'm going to screw them from the bottom. And if you don't have one of these for your liquid nails, caulking, whatever, you should get a bunch of these because these are amazing. I haven't used this liquid nails in a year, and I pulled this out and was able to, I don't know if you can see, it's coming out. So as of right now, I highly recommend these. I believe I got them at Lowe's because, like I said, Lowe's is the only place here close to me. I've got access to a Menards, but I do prefer Lowe's. So let's see if I can get these attached. What I did was I flipped these. So the first one I'm going to put on is this one, and it's going to go on this side, and then the middle, and then the front. That's not right. This one goes here, this one in the middle, and that one goes in the back. That's what it was. So we better start the front. Sorry, knocking things off. And then I'll clamp these in place. No, I should have had these already ready, but that's me. I need to go get another clamp. Hold that thought. Okay, so I very awkwardly flipped this over so I can put the screws in it. I'm using 1 inch from Power Pro. And my brand new Cobalt Impact driver. I haven't even got to try it yet. This is literally the first time I've tried it. I have the regular drill, but I've been wanting this for a while, so. This is my new favorite tool. I'll be looking for that screw later. looks pretty good so far. So I have a decision to make. Give me a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I weighted this down with these blocks to make sure that the liquid nails that I put on it makes good contact between the my countertop boards and the baseboard. Despite the fact that I put the screws in it, that's just to make for sure. I repositioned my clamps on this side because on this side I need to put trim. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. My trim has to be on before I pour my epoxy, obviously, because I want it all, you know, one seamless, very pretty finish. And I am going to pre-drill my holes, so I'm going to use another piece of trim to make for sure that I'm putting my pre-drilled holes where I need them to be. I have my panel nails. They are 1 5/8 inch, 15 gauge. And start a few of them, so I'm not trying to hold them in the piece of trim while I'm trying to hammer them in. Make sure I've got it lined up properly. Don't know. Let me see if my longest clamp is big enough to hold this. I'm not sure if it'll span enough or not. Oh, I think I'm gonna get lucky. And it is, yes it is. That's gonna make this a lot easier to hold in place. Line it up. All right. Now I do have a little bit right here where there's some bowing in this board. It's not exactly smooth, but that's okay because when I do the resin, it's self-leveling. So that will take care of that, no problem. I'm gonna finish the side trim and put the front trim on, and I'll be back in just a second. Okay, there we have a nice clean edge. And this side, coming from the hallway, you're going to see this, but there's nothing I can do about that. I wanted the front to have the nice clean edge. Now, obviously, I'm not putting trim on this side because this is the side that goes next to, like, right up against the cook stove. So I'm not putting one there because otherwise my cabinet would then have space between it and the cook stove. And I don't want that because that's exactly where everything that you drop is going to go. It's going to get dust, and I don't want to have to pull that stove out to clean it if I don't have to. The next part of this that I need to do is all of the cracks in between these boards, even here at these sides, all of those need to have clear caulking put on them, because otherwise when I go to pour the epoxy, it's just going to go down in all of those little nooks and crannies, and it will take way more epoxy and make this way heavier than it needs to be. I actually learned that with the long shelf that I built with the really pretty colored shiplap boards that I had salvaged. I didn't pay attention to that step. I kind of just glossed over it, and it's unbelievable how heavy that is. It took me 4 complete pours to get that nice smooth finish on the top, where the first one I did, because it was just a single board, didn't have any nooks and crannies for the resin to go get down in, it was 2. So for this one, I'm going to actually follow the directions. I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos since I messed up on that big one. And that's when I realized, oh, I need to close up all of those little exit points. Because while there is the baseboard, it would go down in there and just fill up to the top. That's still going to add weight. It's still going to take more epoxy, which that stuff's not cheap. So I'm going to get my clear caulking and do that right now. I am starting the caulking. I flipped it over and I'm going to start on the bottom. That way when I do the top, I'm not going to mess it up by flipping it to do this bottom. I may have to go get some new caulking. This is old stuff, and even though I had the cap on it, it's not really wanting to come out, so I'll have to go get some new stuff, a new tube, and try again. Okay, so I did the clear caulking on all of my seams here on the top, and that's got to all be completely dry, quote unquote. Sorry, that was my grandson. They're hauling rock for me into my raised garden beds, into the walkways. So as soon as this, I know it's completely like dry, not tacky, then I can get ready to do the pour. So I will come back when I get to that point. Okay, so I'm back. I did forget when I did the first pour on this counter to record that. So that's okay, because this is the second one. Has to be done. The second one has to be done 4 to 5 hours after the first one, no longer. If you're going to do a third coat, you have up to 24 hours to do that one. So it's really late and I want to get this done, so let's get through this quickly. So this is the one that I'm using. We're going to take pour equal amounts of each, the hardener and the resin, into separate containers. Then we will take the hardener and we will pour it into the resin. And then after that, we will mix it for 6 minutes. And it also says here, or until it reaches a temperature of 90 degrees. I don't have a thermometer to do that, so we're just going to go by minutes. Then after we mix those together, then we will take that mixture, pour it into another clean container, and mix it for another 6 minutes. Once both of those mixings are done, then I can pour it onto the countertop. So let's get started. For this, it's almost 6 square feet. So my chart here tells me that I'm going to need 32 ounces to cover it. This is up to 6.4 square feet. So there's plenty. I know I'm not going to have any issues with not having enough. So, but the first pour I actually did 28 ounces because that's how much I had in the containers that I had already had opened. So that seems to have worked really well. Let me turn you to see. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm probably going to do 28 ounces again, since this is a little less than 6 square feet. All right. So 4 containers. I'm using 4. This over, I'll find it. All right. I have a little bit of this left from the other box I had. There's no sense in wasting it. For the resin part, I'm actually putting it in a container to measure it, and then I've just got these cheap pitchers at Dollar Tree, $1.25, so I can just toss them away. So this is what I'll mix them in. But these little cups that I had won't hold 64 ounces. They only go up to 34. So to mix the two together, 28, that's, just slightly less than 60 ounces. All right, that box is done. For 28 ounces. Stop here at 26 because I had quite a bit that dripped off. So I'm thinking I can get by with 26 ounces. And if not, I'll fix it on a third pour because I will be doing a third pour tomorrow. Got some left over here. Now these will not activate until they're mixed together. And then once I do the pour, I'll have about 20 minutes to make sure it's smooth, use the heat gun to get all of the air bubbles out before it really starts hardening up where you can't manipulate it anymore. So the other 2 things that you need for this is a plastic spreader, spatula, whatever you want to call it, and a stir stick. hear me sticking to the plastic. I covered my garage floor with plastic, as well as the table that I have this sitting on, because it is going to spill over, and that just is going to keep everything a whole lot cleaner. All right. Pour this one in. Make for sure you scrape your container. Make for sure you have disposable containers, because you are not going to get to be able to reuse these. Absolutely do not try to reuse to do your second or third pour. Just get new containers every time, because otherwise it's not going to come out. All right, here we go. Minutes. Timer is started, and I'll have you back in a minute, because there's no sense in you having to sit here and watch this. Hang on. Okay, so 6 minutes is up. It's time to pour it in the other container and stir it again. Make sure you're scraping the sides. I did have a thought as I'm using this wooden scraper stir stick. I suppose I could have gotten cheap spatulas at Dollar Tree and tried them, but they might have come apart. But the problem with using the stick is that you may get wood particles. And I dusted these, and I still can see that I've got some dust in it. Probably from the stick. All right, see you in 6 minutes. Okay, so we've got it all mixed up. And as I was mixing it, I looked up and saw that I had forgotten something. So here, let me turn you towards the project now. Back here, I was gonna put a 2-inch board to act as a mini backsplash, and I forgot to put it on there. So tomorrow, before I do my third pour, I will add that. So here we go. Still might have mixed too much, but it's better to have too much than not enough, in my opinion, because it takes too long to mix more if you didn't get enough. After all, this is why I put the plastic down. This is self-leveling, pretty much, so all I have to do is just make sure I'm pulling enough to the edges, pull it to the edges, that way it doesn't goop all up in the middle. Because since the first layer was still a little sticky, sometimes it will tend to, like right there, that had a hole in the middle of where I poured it. And then I'll just drag to the end. smoothly as I can. See if there's any more left in here. Get that to spill over the edge, that way my edge gets covered as well. Now, somebody who's a professional at doing this may not be the way that they do it. That's okay. This is just the way that works best for me. Sorry, I know you can't see what I'm doing. Just trying to get my front end there nice and smooth. All right, I'll just keep. All right, now I can do this without sticking to everything. Need to take the heat gun and get the air bubbles out. Sorry about that. I accidentally turned that timer back on. Oh, that is just coming out lovely. Try to keep my cord out of my epoxy over there. everything is sticky. Everything is sticky. Go over it one more time with the heat gun. Make sure I've got all my air bubbles out. All right. Make sure you wear gloves. Okay, that's it. So the next pour will be exactly that same way. I'll probably still do the 26 ounces because that seemed to be fine, and I don't need, since my first pour was so thick, the second and third one don't need to be as thick. This is going to be a countertop in my kitchen, so I definitely want the 3 layers, but I don't think I need more than that. But once it cures, after the third pour, I think it needs the full cure time. At room temperature, 70 degrees, it's going to be 8 hours. Period between each coat, each additional coat, between the first and second coat is 4 to 5 hours. I did 4. 3+ coats, it's going to be 24 hours, no longer than 48. Full cure in 72 hours. But I will tell you that the longer you let this cure without setting anything on it and keeping it in, like my garage right now is probably 75 still degrees, maybe almost 80 because it was pretty warm today. The longer you can let this cure, the better it's going to be. The one counter that I made in the house, the cabinet, the shelf, I did the minimum of the 72 hours, and when I set my KitchenMaid stand mixer on it, it did kind of make little divots in it. Now, I noticed it right off, and so I pulled it back off, and it kind of filled itself back up where I can't really tell that happened. But let it cure as long as you can, but definitely the 72 hours. So that's it for this video. Hope it wasn't too long. Hope I put enough information into it. Because like I always say, go plant a seed, because whether it's of knowledge or for a plant, something's gonna come up. Bye. Hey y'all, I'm gonna add this. This is several days after I recorded the pouring of the resin. So I did my third coat and I learned something. So I had left the containers of unused resin, the separate, where they were separate, in my garage, which it's summer, it gets hot. I didn't think too much about it. So when I went to go do the third pour on that, because both components were already hot, it started setting up way faster than the 2 previous ones that were cooler. So it's a good thing I went ahead and mixed extra, because otherwise I would not have had enough to finish that last one. And also the other thing that I didn't record last night, because it rolls off the edges, so then on the bottom you're going to have drips and they're going to solidify. Easy way to get rid of them is you just take a palm sander, 50 grit sandpaper, and sand them off. That's what I did, and it turned out great. I set it on my counter or on my cabinet last night. I don't know how to put pictures in, and I've already left my house, so I can't do that because I want to get this video up today. So thought I would add that in. Have a great week. Bye, y'all.